Mizutsune is finally in Monster Hunter now, and it added some amazing weapons and armor pieces, but they do have their fair share of problems. Now Mizutsune will only be available on the field for a limited amount of time. After the Bubbling Festival event, Mizutsune will be locked behind Huntathons, so you'll need to be wise about what you will be crafting with your limited Mizutsune materials. Now let's get one thing straight. The new Mizutsune weapons are very powerful. The best ones you can craft are the Mizutsune Longsword, the Dual Blades, and the Sword and Shield. These weapons benefit greatly from the additional affinity and the high stats these weapons have. But not all Mizutsune weapon types are ideal. The Mizutsune Charge Blade and the Mizutsune Gun Lance have some major flaws. The Mizutsune Charge Blade sadly comes with impact files, so you can't really take full advantage of the weapon's high water elemental stat. Files also don't crit, so the additional affinity won't be as beneficial for the Charge Blade as it is for other weapon types. That's why I think the Mizutsune Charge Blade will be missing out on some damage. But then again, the Mizutsune Charge Blade still has the higher stats when you compare it to the Jura Torus Charge Blade. I just think that it's not the best Mizutsune weapon type you can craft. For the Gun Lance, I don't like that it's a long type Gun Lance. Affinity is useless on long type gun lances, and the high water stat won't be used as much because we'll be shooting charge shells most of the time. It's also not the easiest gun lance to upgrade, so it will be harder to boost up its shelling damage. The edge that the Devil Joe gun lance has is the extra point of artillery it provides. The Kushala gun lance, on the other hand, has Hunter's Unity that could also buff shelling. The Mizutsune gun lance, on the other hand, has Artful Dodger. It just doesn't match up with the value the other gun lances provide. But the Mizutsune gun lance would have the better Wormstake damage when compared to these other gun lances. That's why I think that the Mizutsune gun lance would have been so much better as a wide type gun lance. It could have taken better advantage of that extra affinity using the powerful worm shots of wide type gun lances. Sadly, it's stuck being a long type gun lance. For other heavy weapons like the Greatsword and the Hammer, I think the Coral Puke weapons are better in this case. They do have the higher raw stats, and since these weapons don't crit as much, they don't really benefit from the extra affinity. For ranged weapons, I think your choice will ultimately depend on the kind of playstyle you want. But since I don't use ranged weapon types, I can't really comment on these too much. Now on to the exciting part, the new Mizutsune armor set. First off, the Mizutsune Helm. It's the standard water attack level 2 armor piece. It gets water attack level 2 at grade 6 and unlocks its drift slot at grade 8. Now we already have 2 water attack level 2 armor pieces, the Jura Vambraces and the Jagras Legs. So the only value that this armor piece provides is if you want to swap out one of these armor pieces in your builds. But I think that swapping out the helm is even harder. You will be replacing the Coral Puke helm, which has Wex level 2 and lock-on, a staple in many melee builds. It will also be taking the slot of the Azure Rathalos helm, which has Focus level 2, another staple for charged weapons. The Mizu helm is a great option to have, but unless you have a build for it, I wouldn't prioritize crafting this. Now the other Mizutsune armor pieces come with the brand new skills, Resuscitate and Bubbly Dance. Now Resuscitate is a very unique skill. It gives you the standard damage buff, but in order to activate it, you need to be inflicted with a status effect. And that's the problem. The only status ailments currently in the game are sleep, poison, paralysis, bleed, and the new Bubble Blight. So as you know, there are some major downsides when your hunter gets inflicted with these status ailments. With sleep and paralysis, well, you can't move, so the buff is useless. With poison and sleep, your HP gets depleted. So the only effective way to use resuscitate is with the bubble blight, which will only cause you to slip whenever you dodge. If you combine it with the new skill bubbly dance, you will reduce the effects of this status. Take it one step further and bubbly dance level 2 will reduce the effects of this status and even buff you by making it easier to perform perfect evades. But the true reason why you want bubbly dance is for its level 3 skill. After dodging multiple times, bubbles will automatically form around your armor and you will inflict yourself with the bubble blight. Using level 3 bubbly dance, you can buff your ability to dodge attacks and also activate resuscitate for some extra damage without even fighting Mizutsune. So these two skills go hand in hand. You can't use resuscitate without having bubbly dance in your build. It's a great combination balancing both offensive and defensive skills. But the major problem is, you always have to equip these 3 armor pieces if you want this combo to work. You need to equip the Mizutsune mail, vambraces, and legs to get level 3 resuscitate and level 3 bubbly dance. Now it's important to note that the maximum damage buff you can get is only 20% from resuscitate level 3. So if you think about it, you're investing 3 armor slots just to get a 20% damage buff. So the question is it worth it? Personally, I think it's too much of an investment for just a 20% damage buff and increased dodging abilities. You do get 2 drift slots when you upgrade the Mizu mail to grade 8, but even then, the drift stones are too much RNG, so it's very difficult to get a lot of value out of these 2 slots. But hey, if you're planning to invest on this skill, I think the best drift skill to get for these slots is the aggressive dodger skill. Since performing perfect evades will be easier, you can take full advantage of this skill. Now, something to consider is that resuscitate can also buff the shelling attacks of gun lances. But to get that 20% damage buff from resuscitate, you need to swap out the Basarius mail and legs, which has artillery level 3. Now that's a huge trade-off, but if we can get artillery skills using the limited time drift stones in the next event, then this will be a very strong armor set for the gunlance. Slot in 3 artillery skills into the Mizutsune mail and legs, and you get artillery level 3, resuscitate 3, and bubbly dance 3. You buff both your ability to dodge and buff your shelling. But again, drift stones are very RNG, and we don't know how good our odds will be with the limited time drift stones. You'd be better off investing in other artillery builds. For now, resuscitate and bubbly dance is a nice gimmick, but I wouldn't prioritize crafting these armor pieces. Focus on getting a strong Mizutsune water weapon first, and then if you have some spare materials, you can craft these armor pieces. The last armor piece is the Mizutsune waist, which has 2 points of evasive concentration. Now it synergizes well with the whole armor set with bubbly dance, but personally I don't see too much value in getting some special gauge after performing perfect dodges. You're better off investing in other more offensive armor pieces. Mizutsune will only be in the wild for a limited time, so this will be your best opportunity to farm a lot of Mizutsunes. So to learn more about this bubbly event, be sure to check out this video next.